Hello, I'm Fatmata, and this is Traditionally Inspired Meaningful Art by yours truly. Welcome back. Today I wanted to do a summer plans video. Last season I made a spring plans video and I am so thrilled with the amount of progress I was able to make, even though I had some lofty goals. I am very excited with what I was able to create and the fact that I had some plans going into the season. I always had something that I could sort of reach back to if I was unsure of where to go with my next project. So I'm hoping for similar success this season, and I've pulled out some patterns and I have a ton of fabric that I want to kind of walk you through. All of these are from my stash. Some have been here for ages, while others might be a bit more new in, so I can't wait to share with you what I'm planning this season. So this summer looks a little different for me. My school has allowed us to work from home for the summer, which has not happened in the past. Last year I was on maternity leave, so that was a whole different ball game, but in previous summers I did continue to go into the office, so my wardrobe sort of reflected that, even though it might have been a bit more relaxed. I don't know that I've necessarily incorporated that mindset into a lot of these makes, but many of them are just projects that I've been excited and wanting to dive into anyways, so I figured I would take a chance and go ahead and make them. I have two carryovers from my spring plans video, and this is the first one. This fabric is a rayon jacquard fabric. It is so soft and lightweight. This is from Mood Fabrics, and I got it a couple of years ago, maybe 4 or so years ago. I have about 3 yards of it, I believe. And what I'm hoping to make out of this is a maxi length raglan sleeve dress. I want it to mimic or to be similar to a bias cut dress, so I do plan to cut it out on the bias so that the stripes are going diagonally. And I am going to be using McCall's 8147. I have made a shirt version of this before in the pussy bow blouse that the model is wearing, you see. This time I think I'm going to use UB with the standing collar, I think, but I'm going to elongate it into a dress. I had previously cut out this dark teal fabric with the McCall's 8147, lengthening it to a dress. So I will be using this fabric as the lining because there are some white stripes throughout this fabric and this is going to be a dress. I want to make sure I have as much coverage as possible, and I am really excited that I'm going to get to use up this almost tissue weight rayon fabric. I believe it's a rayon voile that I picked up in the dead stock section at G Street, so you can see how sheer and lightweight it is. So I think using it as a lining would be my best bet here. The second fabric that I'm rolling over from my spring plans is this viscose fabric that I picked up in Paris back in December of 23, and you can see it's a border print. It has this lovely geometric sort of print here and goes into a really nice bold print in the center. It is a double border print, so this border here is on both sides. I'm curious to see how I'll incorporate that into my garment. This is a 3-meter cut of this fabric, and I just love all of the colors in it. It feels very spring and summery to me. I thought of making a Zadie jumpsuit once upon a time with this fabric, but I think I've since changed my mind and I want to do a set with it. I could do Simplicity 9756. I've recently made the trousers out of a black linen fabric, so that is an option. But I would like for there to be slash pockets instead of the side seam pockets. Alternatively, earlier in the year, I made Simplicity 8698, and that is this pattern here. And I made View C. I am considering revisiting this pattern because I have also not cut out the top of the Simplicity 9756 and may consider using this or another sort of topper. But I do want to make a matching set out of this fabric, and that's my general idea at this time, and I'm looking forward to getting that done. I think it'd be nice to have them as separate so that I can mix and match them as I see fit. Next up, I have a knit. This has been in my stash for some time as well. I love this rib knit so much. All the colors in here, the mauves, the white, black, this cinnamon color, and then a mustard in there, and the blue. I really enjoy all of these colors and have been wanting to make something out of this for some time. I think I am going to try McCall's 8448. I remember picking up this pattern and I really enjoyed the design lines. My thought is that I can play with the stripes as they've done in the model photo. For me, I hope I have enough fabric to add an additional tier here at the bottom, and I would then find a way to alternate the remaining fabric I have to just follow sort of the way that they've played with the stripe placement and figure out a final placement for the bottom tier. I really do hope that I have enough. I'll go ahead and cut out the pattern piece, lay it out, and see if I can make it work. But that would be a dream. I felt like I really wanted to make this shine a bit more, and I'm excited that I thought of this pattern that was already in my stash. Next up, I have a tablecloth that I thrifted some time ago, and I've always wanted to make a top out of it. They have some floral embroidery on this tablecloth. It is a circular tablecloth, and there's not much embroidery, but it sort of goes around the center circle there. So I'm hoping that I can strategically place my pattern pieces to make a top out of this. And I would like to make a vintage butterick pattern. It's actually the top that I'm wearing right now. So this is butterick 6422. I have made it twice before. This was my first iteration of it in this white hibiscus embroidered cotton from Joann Fabrics, and I'm hopeful that I can lay out the pattern pieces since I already have it cut out and see if I could get this top out of the circular tablecloth. Now, because this vintage top pattern has a grown on facing, it might make it a bit tricky to cut it out of this fabric. And if I find that I'm having a hard time, I might consider cutting out the facing piece separately, but still use this pattern, or find a simpler pattern that will sort of have a different shape to it so that I can make use of the tablecloth as best as I can. Speaking of tablecloths, I think my biggest score to date at the thrift store is this beautiful, detailed and amazing tablecloth that I thrifted years ago. There's lace detail in here. There's beautiful embroidery. It's this gorgeous tan on tan sort of, coloring, and I have loved this fabric so much. I made the mistake of washing it in my washing machine and it wrinkled so much. I then took it to the dry cleaners to see if they could press it out. As you can see, it is still quite wrinkled. I am going to do my best this summer to press this as flat as I can get it so that I can make use of all of the beautiful details on here, including this edge lace piece here. So my hope is that I will be able to get a dress out of this tablecloth. It is rectangular and it is wide. I've held it around my body, and if I cut things out quite strategically, I think I might be able to do it. My thought is to make something that is a raglan sleeve. I'm sure I'm going to have to hack a pattern. So because I'm already working with McCall's 8147, which is a raglan sleeve pattern, I might find a way to hack this and widen it to make this tablecloth work for me. I went to G Street Fabric and found this rib knit here, which is the exact same color as my tablecloth, if you can tell. And I'm thinking of using McCall's 7122, the dress version, and making the long length dress with the long sleeves to wear under it. I was thinking about using this as a lining, but I do think that I might make both dresses standalone and just wear them together in case I ever want to pair or layer this with something else, to have that option available to me. So I'll be working on this, and I hope to create its own standalone video, because for as long as I've been talking about this, I think it deserves its own video. Next up is this lump of fabric here, And this is a broderie anglaise fabric that I've had in my stash for some time. I picked up a few lengths of these broderie anglaise fabrics from G Street Fabrics in the dead stock section as well as their remnant section. And I believe I have about 6 yards in this bundle here. It is a narrower width, I believe about 45 inches if I'm not mistaken, which is why I bought as much as I could of this. And I also have some shorter offcuts that I've had that I've picked up along the way. In my Make 9 plan this year, I wanted to make in my family a matching ensemble, so I hope to use this fabric to do just that. My dress, if I plan to make a dress, which I almost always do, my dress is probably what's going to take up the most fabric. So I want to be mindful in planning out my husband, my 2 boys, and my daughter's outfits first, and then seeing what fabric I have left before I figure out which pattern I would use for my dress or top, if that's what's left. For everyone else, I think I know what I'm going to use. In the past, I've made my husband Simplicity 8753. I might go ahead and look at the sizing again just to make sure I'm cutting out the right size, but most likely this is the top I'm going to make for him and make sure that it fits him appropriately. And I typically make him a short sleeve version, so I just cut off the sleeve here. For my daughter, I usually use Simplicity 8852, this gorgeous dress here. Sometimes I put the sleeves on, sometimes I hack it, but this has been my pattern of choice for her, and it'll be similar to what the little girl is wearing here with that broderie anglaise. I do have a sort of a coordinating, probably not matching exactly, but a coordinating cotton fabric here to pair under any dresses or tops if they need it. For my son, I have used Simplicity 9201 for his shirt patterns, and again, I just cut off the sleeve there for a short sleeve version for him. So those are the options for everyone else. I am thinking about Simplicity S888, which is a hacking pattern. I've made this dress before in a white curtain, actually, and I'm curious to revisit that. I also this year cut out Simplicity 3001, which seems really simple and might be another contender. So I have some options, but I'm also open to switching things up based on how much fabric I have left. I think in total, I might be looking at about 9 yards of fabric, again, with the narrower width, and I am going to be making for 5 people this year. Last time I did a matching set when there were only 4 of us, and I used Ankara fabric that was 6 yards long, and Ankara fabric is also narrow. So I am hopeful that I can make it work with this, because I was even fussy cutting that time around because I was using the motif. So I'm confident that I can make it work, but this would feel lovely to get it done, and also it would make use of quite a bit of fabric that's been in my stash for some time. Here is something else that I have thrifted. This was a bed skirt. I'm sorry if the camera is blowing it out. It has this beautiful lace trim at the bottom here. It is a poly cotton fabric. It is gathered into the bottom of this bed skirt. I had used the center of the bed skirt previously, that's why it's cut off here. But I have the entire ruffle of the bottom of that bed skirt, and I love the scalloped edge at the bottom here. Earlier this spring, I made McCall's 8150 out of a beautiful rayon fabric from Mood Fabrics. And with this bed skirt, I do think that if I used a separate fabric for the yoke and inner skirt pieces of the 8150, I could use the strips of this bed skirt as the flounce pieces because they're already gathered, and just work that into my make. And I'm really excited about it. I hope to get that done and have a lovely tiered, gorgeous white skirt for the summer. Next up, I recently purchased a white broderie anglaise from G Street Fabrics. I hope that you can see that beautiful pattern here in the fabric. I have this very lightweight sort of single gauze fabric, and I hope to use this to line it. It is so soft and I think would be lovely on my skin and give me a little coverage for the eyelets that are in this fabric. For this top, I'm thinking about this Simplicity pattern. It's Simplicity 8839. I've had it in my stash for a while, but have never used it. I'm thinking of view D or some variation thereof with a crew neckline and seeing if I could make that work. I want a longer sleeve. I do want some frill on the sleeve, but I'm not sure if I want this sort of piratey looking sleeve here. I don't know if I want that much drama necessarily. I have found through my Me Made Made that I love a nice crisp white top. I love it so much, and I was often reaching for them, but a lot of the ones that I have are either knits, and it is very hot to wear that in the summer. So I was hoping to make some more lightweight, easy breezy, and breathable options for me for the summer. Now, for my kids, I have the offcuts of my Zimmerman inspired dress that I made. I had shortened the bottom of the skirt before I added all of the other tiers, and you could see that in the part 1 of my making of the Zimmerman inspired dress video. But with this offcut, I feel like this is a great amount if I were to sort of gather it in to become a dress for my daughter. I have this McCall's 5569, a vintage pattern that I thrifted a while ago, and these darling little dresses. So imagine if I just made the bodice and added this as the skirt to the bottom of that dress. My daughter just turned 6. This pattern goes up to 5. She's pretty small in frame, so I do think that I could still use the biggest size here to do the bodice and just have this skirt. I have a few remnants from my Zimmerman inspired dress, so I could just make maybe narrower strips, combine them, and then cut out the bodice with all those colors in it to really echo my adult dress, and then we'd have sort of a mommy and me matching set. I think it would be a great use of the remaining fabrics that I have and just be a really sweet thing that we can wear together. Another thing that I saw in my stash that was taking up a bit of space but also could prove to be very useful were these double gauze fabrics. So there's some bubble gauze in here. I think these two I would consider bubble gauze, which I think just means that it's super fluffy. You can see in these beautiful colors here. The pink one is actually double-sided, where it has a lighter color on one side and this beautiful mauve color on the inside. All of these fabrics, I believe I purchased in the remnant section at Joann throughout my time visiting them, and in the end I would look and there's not quite enough to make one single garment. However, it is the summer and we've started going to the pool, and often what I find I'm missing is something that my kids can throw on themselves when it's adult swim time and they're not allowed in the water, or if we're walking back home, something that they can toss on. Yes, they could toss a towel on. Oftentimes it's falling off of their bodies. They're like, wah, wah. But if I could make something out of double gauze, which I think would absorb the water, would be a bit more wearable when they're just sitting out of the pool, I think that could work. So I pulled out these two fabrics to make a wearable towel or blanket for my daughter out of this, and then I was thinking about combining these two colors for my son. It's going to be something that I just freehand and freestyle. My hope is that I could keep the pieces in a rectangular state, so that if ever I want to actually use these fabrics to make something, that they would still be big enough pieces where I could recut if I needed to. So I will report back once I've made these. I'm hoping this will be a sooner rather than later sort of make, because yeah, we've been spending quite a bit of time at the pool. But I'm happy that this fabric would get used up and out of my stash. Now I have a pile of whips here that I have put in my sewing room for this season that I would love to get to if I am able. If you are not already subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. I love bringing you fresh, creative takes on my fabrics as well as my patterns, and really bringing some of my creative visions to life here on Team Handmade, and I encourage you to do the same. This is a skirt that I made using the bottom of the S8834 sewing pattern. I love this skirt pattern and the way that it fits me. I added a waistband, which I added just a bit of elastic to. It has a metal zip in the center back here. I have struggled with this for some time because I didn't know how I wanted to finish this off. It is using some table runners I'd previously made out of Ankara fabric for my brother's traditional wedding. If you've been on this channel, you probably have heard me say that so many times. And I made a ton of flounce out of this fabric, cutting out all of these circles and French seaming them together. So I have wanted to make an Ulla Johnson inspired, dramatic, gorgeous skirt for a long time. And I hope that this is the summer that I get it done. I want to get all the inspiration, get the vision going, and pour it into this make. I don't know that it would be a skirt that I'm wearing all the time, but who knows? Next up, you have such a vibrant make. I created a wedding guest dress that I never wore to one of my friends' weddings, and this was the bodice of that using New Look 6676. I love the straight neckline on this. I think it's such an elegant neckline. I borrowed the sleeves from S8875, elongated them, made them super wide and billowy, and plan to either add a cuff or to add elastic to really bring this in. Haven't decided yet. Recently, I took it apart. I went ahead and removed the center back zip. I released the fisheye darts that are in the back, and I now have it sort of ready for something new. I want to make it into a top to be able to wear any season, really. It is lined. I have this really lightweight, sort of gauzy fabric on the inside that really is cool to the touch. I have more of the fabric. My hope is that I can find a way to make a top that I'm going to be super happy with, whether that's just adding a peplum to it. I'm not sure yet, but hope to bring that to you soon so that this dress can actually get worn. I put so much time and effort into it, and I hope that I can create something wearable. Next up, I have remnants of this viscose fabric that I picked up at Mood Fabrics. I've created two garments out of this fabric. The first is Simplicity 1069, which is a pair of trousers that I have worn, and every single time I wear them, I mention that I wish I had lengthened them when I made it. I have not that much left, but I am curious if this would be enough width-wise to actually extend the pant leg. And because this is the shortest of the two pieces, of the two remnant pieces I have, even if I can just get this length added onto them to make them maxi length, I would be very happy. I may consider French seaming the additional fabric onto the bottom and then sort of making it work. But I do think it's time for me to go ahead and at least give it a try to make it a garment that is a bit more wearable in my closet, because as it stands right now, every single time I wear it, I make the same comment, and I want to go ahead and just make it work for me. I have just a bit of the ivory colorway of that fabric. I had intended to bring these two together to do like another color blocked situation, but have yet to do that. So I don't know what I would do with the remainder of this ivory fabric, but again, I wear white tops all the time. So if I could make something out of this, again, I would be extremely happy. So these are both here, waiting to see what they get made into. Final thing in my whips bag, I have these silk remnants. A couple of years ago, I made myself a dress to chaperone prom at my high school, and I made a really beautiful big fuchsia dress. Underneath that, I used these silk fabrics to make a underdress that I could just wear under it like a slip. This is cut up because my best friend was making a dress for Easter and she used the silk in the body of this as her lining. So I am left with the sleeves. This is a raglan style sleeve and I have the beautiful fuchsia, almost satin silk here. And then I have a matte Bordeaux, more red leaning maroon sort of silk on the back of the sleeve. And I was really interested in kind of playing with these two tones together and having this fuchsia just be an unexpected bright pop. I have more of that deeper color of the silk, and this has a lot of body to it because I starched it. When I was putting this in the starch bath, I noticed so much of the color was bleeding out of it, and I have been terrified since to work with it. Because in my mind, if I want to keep the stiffness that the starch has given it to make the sewing process easier, I am nervous that when I actually go to rinse the starch out, this color would bleed all over the pink fabric that I have on the back of the sleeve, and I don't know what that's going to look like or what it will do to this fabric. So I've been a little bit nervous and hesitant to kind of move forward with it, but I've always known that I wanted to, you know, pick out the sleeves here, the raglan sleeves, and make a raglan top using the remainder of the silk that I have here. I have this like square swatch. You can see it's a little sheer, translucent. So I have this sort of square piece, and then these two rectangular pieces that are the width of the fabric. And yeah, I've always thought that I would make some sort of blouse out of them. I would love to make something almost tunic length potentially, because I've already cut out raglan sleeves. I could possibly do like a raglan style here and then use the full length of the fabric. I would need additional fabric to fill out the side panel, but maybe that's where this additional piece comes in handy. And then I use that side piece right here. It could work out. It could be something really, really cool. And I'm excited to work on this actually now. I'm curious if I have any, if I have that side panel here, because it doesn't go the full length of the rest of the tunic front and back pieces, I could potentially cut strips of this fabric and include it at the sides to like tie it on the sides to bring back that pink color into it. I'm really excited about this. In order to put my anxiety about the fabric bleeding at ease, I might use a swatch of this and the starched fabric and see what it does when I put it in water to see if the fuchsia fabric like catches the maroon dye or what happens, just to put my mind at ease so I know before I launch into this project. But I think the idea that I just came up with, I'm really feeling, and that could be a lot of fun. So this is the way that my mind works. Those were a lot of plans as I'm looking around at the fabric, but I think there are some simple-ish makes in there. There are some refashion opportunities, which I'm always open to. There's also use of thrifted textiles and tablecloths, which I'm certainly a fan of. I have some bold Ankara fabrics in there with some more simple plain pieces as well. So I think there's a really good mix and a good balance of things for me to gravitate towards based on my mood, based on how creative I'm feeling, or how much I need something that's just a quick win. And I'm really excited to get stuck into these. Please let me know which make you're most excited to see. And if there are any patterns that I've mentioned here that perhaps you'd like to have a standalone pattern review on, I'd be more than happy to put that together once I've made the garment. If you haven't already seen my spring plans video, I will link that video for you, and I plan to release a spring makes video shortly as well. I know that there is a lot going on in the world right now. I have had the feelings of feeling really frivolous, of feeling really privileged to be able to sit and share with a community of people and talk about garment sewing and talk about makes in the way that we are able to do here. And it is not lost on me that there is disaster happening in heavy, heavy quantities around the world right now. And if you are a person of faith, I ask that you join in with me to continue making prayers for those who are really going through maybe the hardest season of their lives, and that around the world peace will be able to prevail and that we really do see justice. It's been a really hard go for many, many months now, and it has taken a lot for me to kind of sit up here and even find that it's worthwhile to have these conversations about clothing when I'm aware of what is really important and what's happening out there. Like me, crafting is something that brings you just that little bit of solace. Working with your hands, creating something brings you that little bit of joy to deal with the chaos that is out there. That this video helps and inspires you, but I really do urge each of us to not forget about what is happening out there. Say a little prayer for those who are really going through hardship at this time, and I hope that we do get to see peace for those who are in need. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stay creative, my friends. Bye-bye.